Welcome everyone, it's Gray Shirt Guy rocking the gray shirt as always. We're going to do a little Let's Paint video of this Blood Angel Close Combat Terminator. He's looking pretty sweet. Yeah. And yeah, so we're going to do a little Let's Paint. I'm not going to record the entire time because this model's probably going to take me 10 plus hours to do. Or I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 hours. These are not as detailed as some of the other ones, but they are pretty finely detailed. But yeah, so let's get into it. This is the basic concept. I mean, obviously, if you look at the thumbnail of the finished product, it should look very similar to this. This is the basic concept of what the color scheme is going to look like. And the base has got a little bit of Martian iron crust on there with a little bit of a red ink, a little red shade thrown on there. And yeah, I like this model. I think it's pretty cool. This is the Primaris, my Primaris captain that leads the army. And yeah, I like the silver and the red and the gold, and it all kind of like goes together. There's not as many highlights. I'm very muted on my highlights. I try not to. I don't do a lot of edge highlighting. I kind of just, I highlight where I need to, but for the most part, the model looks fine. I don't do a lot of aggressive highlights because it's just, it's just for me, and I think it's kind of fun. So yeah, this is what the color scheme is going to look like. This is the base, so it's going to have some gray rocks and some red sand, reddish brown sand. You'll see that in the end. And of course, we have the no helmet. Most of the time, I helmet my models, but this is one of the few models I don't actually helmet, just because I helmeted all of the other Close Combat Terminators, but I didn't helmet the leader. But I like to paint the heads a little separately. And the reason why I'm doing it on cork instead of on the Citadel little paint handle stand, because I really want to get underneath and try to get as many bits of detail, and it's just a little easier for the brush work if I have it on this kind of a base. Sometimes I do paint using that stand, but for this model I decided to do it on the cork. But anyways, yeah, and let's just kind of get into it. I'll start with the base first, and hope you guys find it fun. Leave a comment down below if you want to see me do any more models. And I've got a bunch for the Terminators I can do. I've got some Death Guard I can do. I have an interesting color scheme for my, not Death Guard, Death Company. So I do this ivory color scheme for my Death Company. So if you want to see me do a model with this, just let me know. I might record one, I might not. I'm not 100% sure. I've got 4 waiting to be painted, and I've got a whole nother box that's not even built yet. So that'll be 5. And yeah, so let's get into it. All right, so we're going to take some Mephiston Red and some Mornfang Brown. We're going to mix it together, about a 1-to-1 mixture. We're trying to replicate the Martian iron crust. We're trying to get sort of a darkish blood terracotta type color for the base. Because I want to try to tie this base in with the other models, because the other models I'm not going to use any rock base or anything. I'm just going to use kind of this brownish red, and I think it ends up looking all right. It doesn't have the kind of crust appearance, but it looks pretty decent. And we're just going to finish it up here. This is trying to get it all over all the sandbars. Yeah, looks pretty good. Don't worry about it getting on the outside. You can cover that up with some black later on. I'm going to get some Mechanicus Standard Gray to base coat the rocks. Yep, pretty much just slab it right on there. I use like a medium base brush for pretty much my entire model. It's either base brushes or dry brushes is mostly what I use. I do use some fine detail brushes, but for the most part I use base brushes. So we're going to get the entire rock surface. Just get both rocks on there. Looks pretty good. And we're just going to let it dry. And then we're going to, yep. I do like the little Citadel handle. It looked pretty nice. So now we're going to come back in there after it's fully dried with a little bit of Nuln Oil. I've had this Nuln Oil for a long time and haven't spilled it at all. So let's hope I don't spill it anytime in the future. Yeah, there's not a lot left. I still have like 3. I keep buying Nuln Oil and Agriarch Earthshade when I don't need it. Anyways, just trying to coat the whole model. I always, well, not always. For the most part, I go straight from the pot with my shades. And if I'm trying to go really light on a shade, I will mix it like 1-to-1 or 3-to-3. It's like multiple parts water versus multiple parts of shade. Then we're going to get the Carrion Crimson to do the base for the sand. And I found this out because I thought that the Martian Iron Crust just was a little too light and it was kind of flaky. So I tried this color one day and it actually looked out pretty good. And I mean, it's more designed for like red models, but I just go all over the entire base, and it looks really bloody right now. We're just gonna let that dry, and you get some on your finger, and just wipe it off. There you go. It's still there. All right, so it's all dry. So now we're gonna do some what is it? Storm Vermintide fur, Storm Vermin fur. Yeah, the glare is annoying. And we're just gonna do a light dry brush over the entire model. Just stipple it out on your toilet paper, you know, whatever you use. I just happen to use some Brawny. And just, yeah, just do a light dry brushing over the whole surface. Once that's done, you're going to come back with some Dawnstone, and you're going to do the same thing, just a lot lighter version of a dry brush. Just pretty much a light dusting, you know, just try to cover over the edges of all the rocks. Nothing too difficult. Yep. Just try to, you know, don't go too heavy on it. After that, you're going to switch over to Mephiston Red. Or at least I switched over to Mephiston Red. You know, you could follow along if you want to. And we're going to do a nice stippled dry brush with some Mephiston Red. Try to get into all the cracks. And I really like this brush. I got it from a hobby store. I don't even remember where I got it from, but either way. You're going to do a light stipple across all of the parts that are already red. After that, you're going to switch on over to, I believe it's Evil Sun Scarlet. You're going to do the same thing with Evil Sun Scarlet. You're gonna just a little bit lighter with the stippling, and you're gonna get it on the rocks. It's gonna happen, but don't worry too much about it. And after you're done with that, you're gonna switch on over to, I think it's yeah, Wild Rider Red. You can try an orange if you want to, but you'll see I went with the red, and then I go on to a different color after this. Yep. And then I come back with a little bit of Dawnstone, and I clean up the rocks a little bit, because there's a little bit too much red on the spots where I dry brush. So come back with a little Dawnstone. Just clean up the edges with the Dawnstone. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to switch over to one of my favorite hobby tools. These are these Tester Weathering Masters. And I'm going to use both the rust and the orange rust colors. And I'm going to try to mute the rocks and kind of blend the rocks in with the base color. And I think these testers, they work really well, and I think they do a pretty good job. You can find them at pretty much any sort of major hobby store, train store. Maybe not a game store, but definitely a place that just sells regular hobby stuff. They use like little makeup type applicators. The brush doesn't work very well, but the makeup applicator sponge does work great. And there you go, that's what it looks like. And we're done with the base. Now we're going to move on to the actual model itself. So you're going to get yourself some lead belcher. That's right. We're going to go for a heavy stipple base coat, kind of almost a dry brush with a really an older stipply type base brush. Yeah, just something you got lying around. Once again, hit up the Brawny. I like to switch my paper towels about a couple times throughout each project. And yeah, just pretty much all the spots where I want it silver, I'm just going to hit it up with this nice dry brush, get a pretty even coat. Try to get in as many crevices as I can, and if you got to get a little bit more paint, get a little more paint. You can do the claws if you want to. I'm going to paint those a little bit differently later, but that's pretty much what it looks like when it's all done. Alright, so now we're going to, once the model is looking pretty good, where the colors are the way we want them, we're going to throw on a wash here. So we're going to take some Nuln Oil, straight from the pot like we did before, and we're just going to coat the entire model in Nuln Oil. Just try really hard, desperately, not to spill my paint pot, because that would be depressing. And just basically try to cut down on the lead belcher just a little bit, kind of bring it down, mute it down a little bit. And if you pull too much, because you don't want to pull too much on the silver, just kind of use the brush and try to dab it out of the corners, and try to use the brush to smooth it towards the ends. And you can also dry your brush and then get some more back. Once you're done with that, you're going to switch on over to some lighter silvers, where we're going to do a heavier dry brush. Or lighter dry brush, an Ironbreaker. This is kind of the layer color I like to use in the middle. So you're going to pretty much just dry brush over the entire model. Now, I actually didn't film this, which is why it looks kind of weird. This is me just kind of making up for not filming it before. Yeah, pretty much just going to go dry brushing, a little light dry brush with the Ironbreaker, and then we're going to move on up to the next color, which is Stormhost Silver, I do believe. Did I get it right? Nah, Runefang Steel. Stormhost Silver. That must be a different color. But anyway, so we're going to take the Runefang Steel. We're going to hit it with a really light dry brush. Kind of like look where the light hits and just try to hit it in the areas where the light catches or there's a lot of change in texture, sharp edges, things like that. Once we're done with that, we're going to move on over to Abaddon Black or Abaddon Black, however you want to say it. We're going to get all the greaves, the hoses, the little soft armor bits, you know, little things on the back, and definitely the exhaust on the back of the Terminator armor. We're definitely going to get those vents. And the little power cables that go from the body itself along the arms up to the lightning claws, we're definitely going to get those as well. Sometimes I'd paint those silver, but right now, since the model is itself silver, I'm going to paint those black. This part's a little tricky because these are kind of hidden away, and this would have been a lot easier if I had done it with the arms off the model. So it's something to think about if you really want to be super clean and not have any problems. But, you know, once you're done, good to go. Model looks great. The blacks are on there. The silvers are looking good. And let's move on over to the next color. So we're going to have a Mephiston red. Now we're going to pick out all the red parts on the shoulder blades, the left knee, and this is kind of actually a really quick part of the model, so not a lot involved. I like to go for 2 or 3 thin coats of Mephiston red across the entire model. And yeah, not a lot of highlights pretty much after that. We're just going to kind of go a couple coats on the whole thing. This is how it looks like. Pretty good, no problems. We're going to switch on over to the gold. Now, this is Balthazar gold. We're going to cover everything on the model that's gold. And there's a lot of gold, so it's actually just going to cut down pretty much a ton of it. So this is what the model looks like when most of the gold is done. I missed those droplets on the back, but we're going to clean those up later. This is me kind of trying to look around, thinking about what I want to do, where I need to go next, you know. And like, you'll notice when I spin this model around that I actually got gold on spots I didn't need to get. We're going to clean those up later in the cleanup phase right before we do a full inking. But we're going to do another base coat of, what is this, Rockhearth Flesh. This is going to be for all the parchments, for all the, what do you call those? The face seals. I think that's what the seals, I think what they call those. Anyway, so we did the base coat of those. There's not that many on this model. Some of the Blood Angel models actually have a lot on there. So we're going to move on over to doing the head. So we're going to do Xandri Dust on the hair. Try to go for a little bit blonde effect. And I still really don't like doing the hair. But anyway, so then we're going to switch on over to Bugman's Glow for the face. You can use a lighter face color to start with if you want to go for a lighter face. But Bugman's Glow is fine. It's going to look a lot lighter anyways. We're going to take a little bit of Cerium Sepia. You can use, there's another flesh shade you can use. I just don't have that flesh shade, so I just use the Sepia or Agrex or shade. Either one of them is fine. And a little bit of inking work on there. And I wish I would have had a zoomed in camera, but I didn't. So we're going to use a Calidor Sky base coating for the blades on the lightning claws and for the hoses and the wiring. And that's what it looks like when we're done. And we also do the lenses on top of the Auspex. And that's when I realized I didn't do the gold on the back. We're going to do Xerius Purple for an initial base coat layer for the front cape and for the ropes that you don't see in the other stuff. But with this coat, we want to use some, was it Lame Medium, I think is what they call it? I don't know how to pronounce it. A little bit of medium to help flow the purple, because the purple is really, it's fabricy, so we're trying to get it to look a very specific way. And once it's all dried, it's looking pretty decent. We're going to switch on over. We're going to do, I think this is when we start doing the cleanup, because I didn't film the cleanup. But yeah, this is basically when we did the cleanup for everything. We went back with all the base colors and fixed it, and then we went over with Agric Earthshade, and pretty much everything looks good. Now we're gonna highlight the face with some Cadian Flesh Tone and some Kislev Flesh as well. And I unfortunately didn't show that pot, so I have to have it right next to me. A lot of cut. Ushapti Bone for the blonde and the hair. And then we're pretty much done with the skull after that point. This part is where it gets really fast. And I apologize if the jump cuts get a little bit annoying, but it was a lot of just staring at the model, painting, and just kind of give it a look through. We're going to go for on the cloak. So there's a lot of it on the cloak that you won't see. But basically, I went over with Xerius Purple, and then went Nagrath Knight inside the deepest recesses. And then after that, we went on up to a Gene Stealer Purple. Now, there is a mini wargaming video that you should check on YouTube about how to do purple capes. I recommend following that one. I've tried to do the blue part where the next highlight above this is blue. It didn't really work out very well for me both times I've tried it. So I would just stick with this and just leave it at this color. And well, you could do the purple ink as well inside the recesses, and I edited it out. But yeah, basically stick the ink inside the recesses, and this is where I would stop. I wouldn't go any further. But feel free, if you're feeling adventurous and you like wet blending, just go with what the mini wargaming video has. Just Google or just search in the search bar on YouTube, painting figures purple cloaks. I think it's like Warhammer purple cloak figure, and there's a really good video on how to do these. I'm just kind of making them look decent. So now we're going to highlight the lightning claws and also the wiring. You don't see the wiring, but I do a single color highlight on the wiring. But the lightning claws, I just like to get an edge highlight right on the side. And I actually think the lightning claws look nice. You can make them look a lot better. There are other ways to make them pop a little bit more. You also do the lenses on the little top of the targeting ray. A little Lothran blue for the next to last highlight. And then some white scars for the final highlighting. Basically, you do exactly what you did with the white scars here. You'll do Lothran blue right before that, or Lothran blue right before that, and then you'll do white scars. Basically, I kind of start like halfway down the claw and just work my way up. And yeah, I mean, I really need to figure out a better way to position my camera, because it's fine here and the lighting is fine, at least as far as me painting it. We're going to go over all the gold with some Gammon gold. Pretty much all the gold parts, just getting a nice highlight. And once the gold's done, we're going to pile the witch flesh. We're going to do the little purity seals and the little scripts. And that's pretty much it. Like, once that's done, there's not a lot left to do. We're just going to glue in the head and the other pieces on. And once all the other pieces are glued in, we're going to do some Spirit Stone Red to pop out those blood lenses. And just go right of the gold. And yeah. And just pretty much just hit them up with, you know, you don't have to water it down or anything. Just, you know, it does dry and clump up kind of fast. You can go over it several times. So wait for it to dry and then go over it again. And I think it looks fine for doing blood lenses. And yeah. I mean, there are older ways. There's other ways to do blood lenses, but I still think it's fine. And then corn red for the mouth. Got to get him a little bit of tongue, make his mouth look a bit more red. And then some Agaric Earth shade back on the face. Just kind of tie it all back in, because I think when I highlighted the face, it looked a little too pale. And that's pretty much it. So we're just going to super glue him onto the base, and then he's done. So yeah, this is the Close Combat Terminator. It's for my Blood Angel Successor Chapter, the Silver Stalkers. I think it looks pretty good. Let me know how you, let me know if you have any comments or suggestions or anything you'd like to see in the bottom. Some of the video did go by relatively quick. I apologize for that, but, you know, just kind of experiment when you're painting and have fun. And hope you guys have a good day. See you later.